Gamers Podcast. I am Casey Coggins, joined as always by Alvin Hebert.
What it do?
And Andrew Lira.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
So we took some time getting going again on another episode, and boy, has shit hit the fan in the NBA.
It made a mess.
Hit the fan is everywhere.
Like, I feel like it's one of those things with the NBA that every now and then they peek over and look at the NFL and they see what the NFL is doing, and they're like,
chung 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 chow.
they peek at the ratings and they peek at like how popular the NFL is in America, and they're like, what can we fucking do to take some of the headlines during their season like they do during our season? And guess what?
Daryl Morey said, "Hold my beer."
let me put on my cowboy boots and
Give me my iPhone real quick and get on Twitter.
He said, "Hello, Twitter world."
That's a good OJ impersonation.
That'd be a good way for OJ to support it. Oh, hello, Twitter world. It's me, the juice.
If we ever make it big, people are going to come back to that.
They're going to flag this one.
Canceled.
Andrew's going to be that guy who was hired by SNL for about 5 minutes. So
it wasn't the greatest accent.
Wait, that wasn't Jewish?
Kikes don't like that.
Oh, man. And we hit them with the slurs.
It's cool. They're white. We can make fun of them.
Okay, all right.
We can't tell them apart from us unless they're wearing a hat.
Yeah. If they got long sideburns.
They got that one cornrow.
If they constantly look like they have a perm or they have an afro.
Instead of Christmas trees, they have those weird candles.
Incense.
Don't you know how to fucking draw a star?
Ooh, anti-Semitism at its best.
I was going to break out into the dreidel song.
Shit.
As long as you don't go to the Muslims, we're good.
Yeah, we don't talk about them.
So, I mean, going to the touchy subjects, NBA and China. Daryl Morey made a mistake. He made a bad choice. On face value. Face value, made a bad choice. The deep-rooted value of what he did, I mean, we talked about it like before we started, just kind of getting our ideas out in the air. The idea of what Daryl Morey is standing for, great, incredible. What a nice guy. What a good person.
Progressive.
Yeah. What a leftist liberal snob. I mean,
oh shit! I wasn't going to go that far. I was saying that's actually very progressive.
But no,
well, goddamn.
I was just that was the what one side of the aisle is going to be saying.
Oh, for sure.
But he's standing up for these people who feel oppressed, and he's wanting democracy across, like, not just China. He wants democracy across the world. Like, it is
the world.
and that's really like freedoms and rights and all of the stuff that we are blessed with as Americans. He's the GM of the most popular team in China. He is over there all the time. I believe he's been GM, and he was the GM that drafted Yao Ming. Like, he has played a vital role in the growth of the NBA in China. It's not just some random assistant to the GM person, video boy, who tweets this and it gets picked up by somebody. And then, like, it's not Eric Spoelstra before he became a head coach of the Heat. It's, this prominent figure in not just trying to progress the democracy thing, but he's a progressive NBA person. Like, the NBA we know it today has a lot to do with the way that Daryl Morey is, as Bill Simmons calls him, Dork Elvis. He's huge into statistics. He holds the seminar at MIT every year about how, like, what statistics are relevant. Have we come up with any new statistics? And they have this whole conference about NBA statistics at MIT every year that he helped like create and found. So he's always been a progressive thinker, and he is probably the most famous general manager in the NBA. Like, can y'all think of any other general managers that would be more famous than him? Maybe Jerry West, but I don't even think he's a GM anymore.
No, I think he's like
Pat Riley,
president of operations or something. Yeah, Pat Riley.
Pat Riley's president of basketball operations for the Heat.
oh god damn, it's all the same shit.
But yeah, like R.C. Buford was the GM for the Spurs. It was Pop before R.C. got promoted. But as a whole, the list of guys that you're like, he's a general manager of an NBA team, slim. Like, it's, you know, we named maybe five guys out of 30 teams in the NBA.
Myers from Golden State, he's pretty popular.
Yeah. And then but yeah, it's a small list of how many NBA owners, how many NBA execs are like known to the NBA fan base as a whole. Like, not just avid fans, and not just avid fans of their team. Like, there are people in San Antonio who know everybody that plays for the Austin Spurs. They know the coach. They know the assistant coaches of the Austin Spurs. They know the assistants to the general managers. They know the who's in the Coyote suit. They know all of that stuff.
I mean, it's not a Coyote.
It's two stacked on each other.
That's
That's how it gets so tall.
That's why his number's 2.
Exclamation point. 2.
it's all making sense now.
But again, Daryl Morey is a very, very popular, famous general manager who has now turned China, the second largest economic impactful country to the NBA, against the NBA, with his Stand with Hong Kong tweet. And I'm sure, like, most people who would be listening to us talk about it would know by now why it's such a big deal. But we're doing this to get our thoughts out there in the air. So can we all agree that the NBA botched this more than Roger Goodell botched Deflategate and Ray Rice?
Yes.
Like, the NBA, this could be like the worst handling of a big situation by any league since I don't know when. Like,
it's kind of like a bobble versus a catch.
Yeah,
Did he have possession? Did he not?
I don't think.
Is he right? Is he wrong? Do we like it or not?
I think the NBA still have time to like save face on that. I don't think it's like fully like.
Yeah,
botched.
but at this present moment, with all of the what we've had laid out to us by now, like, going forward, yeah, they could save face. They could take all the right steps. They could be perfectly fine with how they go about it. But up until this point, right now at 8:16 Central Daylight Time, the NBA has not looked good in this manner because they initially apologized and then they backed off of an apology, but now they're kind of going back to an apology, and now they're just trying to sweep it under the rug and not talk about it. Like, that.
I think their last statement was the NBA was the symbol of the NBA is like, we aren't gonna suppress our players' GMs, any kind of employee, anybody affiliated.
Did you see the video of James Harden and Russell Westbrook today?
No.
They were asked about it. A Rockets PR team member came out and said, our players are not going to talk about anything other than basketball. And to a CNN reporter.
Weren't they over there?
Yes. But
they ain't trying to get bodied.
With what's going on in the NBA saying, like, we don't want to suppress the voices of our players, which, again, great thing. Like, let these players talk about what they want to talk about, because when you hear what impacts not just the LeBron James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irvings of the world, but what's impacting the 12th, 15th man on the roster, what's impacting people as a whole, like, that's when you start seeing the DeMar DeRozans and Kevin Love feeling more confident about stepping out about their mental health and how they feel. Like, like as the general population of NBA fans think of the NBA as the most woke league. Like, they are the progressive thinkers. They see social impacts or social situations, and they know that they can make an impact with the social situations. And that's why you see a lot the people who are leading the movement now, as far as athletes in the social movement, are NBA players or blackballed NFL players. Well, because there's one. Like, we don't really hear much about Eric Reed anymore. Like,
he got a job.
Yeah, but he's still kneeling.
Yeah.
But
Kenny Stills.
But guess what we don't hear about? Like, we only heard about Kenny Stills because he was beefing with the coach, and the coach was not going to play him and ended up throwing him in a trade to the Texans. And guess what happened after that? We don't hear about it again. So the NFL doesn't talk about social issues. The MLB sure as hell doesn't. And if they did, it'd be heard by like 6 old white guys.
Yeah.
I said 6 old white guys. If they're talking about progressive issues, they'd be like, "No, we don't like that shit." And
you mean they're not chained anymore?
When the hell did Francisco Liriano start pitching in the MLB?
That boy, he's real tan, ain't he?
That's the joke I wanted to make. I feel like I don't really have solid ground in making that joke. But
that little Latin boy spends a lot of time in the sun, huh?
But like the NHL is 75% Russian, so we can't really. They're not going to talk about social issues, because if they talked about social issues, guess what? They're probably going to get murdered when they go back to the motherland.
Or they're also Canadian. You know, they're real nice.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you would be real nice if you had America as a buffer.
What's that all about?
So, that is racist, man. That is racist.
So, I mean, we're looking at the big four. I mean, the MLS is getting there. Like, they're it's slowly but surely. Slowly but surely, the MLS is actually becoming more popular. I mean, it's still.
You're gonna shock yourself.
Gumbo, come here. Gumbo wanted to say something about oppression. Started licking Andrew's mic.
And then you oppressed her.
And then I did oppress her.
You went full fucking China. I'm going to call you she now.
I'm not eating her.
She Wang.
Something Wang.
This Wang.
I'm going to have to actually just cancel all of this.
We're just going to have to edit this like real nice.
So,
holy fuck.
So we get to the NBA being woke, but yet immediately being like, fuck our money. And that's the thing. Like, bless you. That's the thing about the NBA, in the way that they handled it initially, is they handled it as a business. Like that's what I said earlier. Like, we have to realize that, I mean, as for rights that I am, understanding that freedom of speech is great to have. I love being able to say what I want, but you also have to understand that with freedom of speech, when you work for a company or a corporation and they have certain needs to uphold, and certain they're an enterprise that is looking to make money, and the way that you make money by working for said company is making them money. Like, you're going to have to oblige to the standards that they need to have. So I don't think it's as simple as the NBA came out against freedom of speech the way it initially seemed, because they were just immediately like backtrack, delete, control alt delete, like unplug everything. Like,
it was a burner account.
Like, I got hacked. Like, throw the chips into the microwave, and like, kind of like, did y'all watch Mr. Robot?
No.
Okay, so Mr. Robot, y'all should watch, because I think y'all would both appreciate it. But it's an incredible show, and he's a hacker.
That's the one with Freddie Mercury, right?
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of crazy to think that a dead person can act so well,
right?
But yeah, Rami Malek is incredible as this guy. Christian Slater's in it.
Oh shit! You sold me.
You sold me.
I'm in it now.
So just quick tangent on Mr. Robot. Christian Slater plays Rami Malek's dad, who's dead, but you don't know he's dead.
What?
Yes.
What in fucking Sixth Sense Haley Joel Osment is this? Jaylee?
Mr. Robot is a little schizo.
Hackerman?
Yeah. And so it, like, I did divulge like a big spoiler about the first season of Mr. Robot, and the fact that you're not supposed to know that Christian Slater's a dead guy because of how it's done. But
so it's shot in the past.
No, it's shot in the present, and that's what the crazy thing is it's shot in the present. But Christian Slater plays a vital role in like everything that goes about it. No, and he knows. Like he
knows he's dead.
Yeah, yeah. It's insane how it's done. It's extremely well written, well shot, and it's about throwing a government that they feel has oppressed too many people just for the needs or the wants of money.
Well, goddamn, that sounds like China right there.
What the fuck?
Exactly. And then they start throwing like little Trump stuff into it, and it's,
of course.
But I mean, every show's doing that.
Everything's doing that.
Welcome to Hollywood. How do we get our ratings up? Let's make a stand.
So yeah, there's my little Mr. Robot thing with he throws his discs and everything in the microwave and runs them so that it like erases and completely just
fries them.
Yeah. And that's what the NBA did. They were like, how can we delete the last 3 days? Can we delete the last 3 days? But you can't. That's just not 2019. 2019 society is you tweet it and you're popular. Somebody screenshotted it. Somebody retweeted it. Somebody.
You live by the tweet. You die by the tweet.
Exactly. That is.
I dig that.
T-shirt alert.
And
it's reversible.
What?
And so that's.
It's gonna say burner account on the other side.
That's I'm gonna make the retweet symbol, but instead of lines, it'll be Benchwarmers Podcast.
Hey.
So the NBA just botched it from the beginning, and once you botch it from the beginning, you have to either just go full-fledged into the botch, where you just say, yeah, we said what we said, because like me personally, I don't know how y'all would feel about this, so I'll ask when I'm done with this little
I'm against
sentence. Is I would have been fine if the NBA and Adam Silver came out saying China is important to the growth of us. While we don't stand with their ideas, we can't have them upset by us. Like, this needs to be a partnership like it has been. Like, if they just full-fledged said, we're a business, China's good for business. Not necessarily as bluntly as that, but if they just full leaned into, they make money for us, and it's good for us, it's good for the players, it's good for the owners, and they just went full on, like, we said what we said at the beginning, now we need to just go with it. Or you do a full rewind, immediately backtrack, and say, no, we do stand with what Daryl Morey said, and they had to go one way or the other, and it seems like they've been stuck in the middle. But what I said about them just leaning into it as a business and just saying, we need China. While I don't actually believe that the NBA needs China, what do you think about a business action? Like, what would you think if the NBA came out and explicitly said China's good for business, and we've been working hard over the last 20 years with China to develop the game there, to develop, like, to have the partnership with Tencent, to, like,
it's 50 Cent.
have Chinese players in the NBA thrive and grow the game. Like, China has been the catalyst. It's been China and Africa.
Like, Jeremy Lin has fucking dreads, dog.
He's cultured now. That little Harvard boy.
Yes, the Asian boy that grew up in California.
We got fucking
Got dreads.
I don't know if you're talking about Jeremy Lin or Joe Tsai now.
They're all the same.
But yeah, like, so I want to get y'all's takes on record about how the NBA has handled it. Alvin, like, give us your 2 cents. Yes, I know it's 50 cents.
I mean, the way they handle it, I feel like they try to play both sides of the fence, and I was like, no, that's not the way you go about it. But when he came out, and when Adam Silver came out following, it was like, we're not going to be apologetic about what Daryl Morey said. Like, I like that part of it, but I also do understand the business side, because I feel like China needs the NBA just as much as the NBA needs China, because we are making them money too, like with the shoe deals with Li Ning and all that stuff, and they're putting stops on all of that. And I'm like, a lot of their people watches the NBA. Like,
they're still gonna watch it.
So I have a quick question. I should have looked at this beforehand. Nike, the official apparel sponsor of the NBA, as much as I dislike it, how much of Nike stuff is not made in America?
A lot of it's in Indonesia.
It is, because I don't buy Nike, so I have no idea where it's made, like what it says on the tag. So it's
a lot that I've seen, at least what sticks in my head, is a lot of Indonesia.
Yeah.
Okay. Continue your point, Alvin. I'm sorry. I just it made me think, like, because Nike would be a big deal in the NBA too.
But Nike's not state sponsored. Huawei is.
Yeah, Huawei.
Huawei is state sponsored.
Okay.
I felt like they could still be like, we stand what Daryl Morey said, but also, like, we want to be respectful to China, as, like, this is, like, we don't want to, like impose our will. Like, yeah, we don't want to, like, impose our will onto them and be like, this is what we believe in. Like, this is how we feel like they should, like, go about their business too. But, like, they could have firmly stand, like that at the beginning instead of like now. That's what they're trying to do and trying to make it like we support Daryl Morey, but we also see it the business side. And it's like we understand the business side, but it's like you can't play both sides of the fence.
Yeah, they were like in Talladega Nights, just like with all due respect.
Yeah,
you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, it's like when you hear someone say with all due respect, it's like they're about to be disrespectful.
Yeah, so you can't be a little bitch about it.
Yeah.
So what I just want to, I only looked up Nike shoes, and it looks like Nike is pulling out of China manufacturing them as much, but it's still like 30% of Nike shoes are made in China.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in Adidas was on there too.
They're right next door.
They're
in the same building, just on the second floor.
And this is 2017. They were at like 17%.
Yeah.
But it's over the last 15 years, it's just the amount of shoes being produced by Nike and Adidas in China has significantly dropped, where it was like over half of what they were making was done in China, and now it's Adidas is less than 20%. And
percentage wise, you think they're still producing the same number?
I mean, it's likely.
Because numbers have gone up, but if they're pulling out a little bit, the percentage goes down. It gives you that look like
right, because it says of production. So if they're making 200 million more shoes, the percentage is going to go down because they're making the same amount.
Exactly. They're just outsourcing the rest.
Yeah,
that's that thinking gift right there.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, just because the percentage is going down, their sales have gone up.
But that was that was the first thing that I saw about is that the production percentage is going down in China, but they are still quite reliant on China to make their merchandise.
Yeah.
So like there's really a lot. As much as I hate to say this, I do believe it to be true that China is the most influential economic market in the world. Like everybody relies on China, and it goes into a lot of the finance industry economic terms about just cost of production, like being able to import goods from China for cheaper than you would be able to import them from like Sweden, just to say a random country that might like it. The only way that you can not rely on China for goods is if you start making them yourself. But that goes into an infrastructure thing where you have to be able to build the same amount of warehouses that you use in China, in America, like, which would create jobs and would actually help build a self-sustainable American economy. But as a worldwide economy, like when China says, fuck you, you're fucked. And maybe this kind of leads us away from it. But so that was Alvin, you got your opinion, and now on to Andrew. Like how did you feel? Let's just start with how did you feel the NBA handled it, and then we'll get into ramifications.
I think at first they bobbled it. It was not a catch. But
Des caught it though.
That was more of a catch. But when Adam Silver actually came out and said, like, we aren't going to silence what our employees say, that spoke a lot. It's backing up your boys. It's just like, hey, he said it. We are the woke league.
Quote unquote.
We are the woke league. We would be anti-woke if we were to silence him. It would go against the reputation we've established these last 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
can't
mean, 20
reprimand him for
really,
something that
Yeah.
our
because-
country is standing for.
I mean, you could even go further back than that, because if like, I believe Yao Ming, the only reason, well, I mean, he was 7'6", that kind of led to him being an NBA player, but you look at some of the foreign NBA players, they started being able to watch nationally televised games. They were able to watch the Olympics. They were able to watch NBA players be NBA players, and it made them want to be them. Like, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Yao fell in love with Shaq because of how dominant Shaq was in the mid-90s. Like, Yao was only like 20 years old when he got drafted in 2002. He got drafted the year before LeBron James.
God damn.
Really? What?
Yeah. Perspective. He might have been 01, but
But yeah, it would have gone against everything, like the reputation that they've established. This is who we are. We're more than just athletes. We will not shut up and dribble.
Yeah.
If Adam Silver would have said like, "Hey, those are his views. We don't feel that way," you would be just, that'd kill your foundation. You would tell them just to shut up and dribble.
Yeah, your players would look at you sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm pissed off that none of the players have said anything, because that's why I want to hear LeBron say, like,
But me with the players, like, do they even know the situation that's going on in Hong Kong? Like, because DeAndre Jordan,
I think that's the best part about this, is because Daryl Morey's tweet brought a lot of light
it did.
to what's going on in Hong Kong.
Because like DeAndre Jordan was interviewed about the jump, and he was all saying like, I can't speak on something that I don't even know about.
so here's,
Man, that's just fucking gray area.
This might sound a lot tougher than I guess I do mean it tougher, but I don't want to chastise NBA players' intelligence, and I like, it's, again, with all due respect, LeBron never went to college. DeAndre Jordan 1 year, Kyrie Irving 1 year, Kevin Durant 1 year, Chris Paul, I think he went to 2 years at Wake Forest. Let's just say they haven't had the most outstanding education as far as like world history, and they're not going to be well versed in how certain things have gone come about in other countries when
Dictatorship bad.
Yeah.
Communism bad.
But they're smart enough individuals to understand, like, they can see something and make an opinion about it. So but to get into the weeds, as DeAndre Jordan was asked on the jump, like, you can't get into the weeds when the only thing you can say is democracy is good, freedom of speech is good.
Yeah,
but you can't, like, he's not going to be, and it goes to the Steve Kerr thing that I think you talked about before we started the podcast. Like, even Steve Kerr, who 4 years at Arizona, brother has a degree in foreign policy, Greg Popovich, who, if you haven't read the article about who that guy is as a person and his background, even he is saying, like, I can't speak to China, like, and like he's kind of taken a roundabout way of saying, like, democracy good, freedom of speech good,
Yeah.
dictatorship bad, communism bad, but he hasn't, like, as much as he loves to talk about foreign policy and all of that stuff, like, he hasn't really dove into it. That really shows, like, how fucking, like, deep and just entangled this situation goes with how, like, China is with Hong Kong. Like, that, the root of the issue is China and Hong Kong. Hong Kong exists in China. It's like the Vatican City in Italy, except Italy saying, "Cool, you do whatever the fuck you want. Go be a pedophile, whatever.
Go fuck all the kids you want. We don't care."
But it's like that's Hong Kong. Is Hong Kong is its own. It operates as its own country, even though it identifies as Chinese. And like that right there, that saying that Hong Kong is its own country, but geographically identifies as China.
China hates that.
Is ever like it's like having a San Antonio police officer and a Windcrest police officer at the same scene, and Windcrest police officer says, "Fuck you, you're in my jurisdiction." Like, you're in the city of San Antonio. Like, but like the Windcrest police officer isn't wrong, but the SAPD, like, it's like you literally like live in San Antonio, but you say you're Windcrest even though you're just this little municipal, like, essentially, like you, like Alamo Heights PD, like, and all of the other, like, here are these little pockets of San Antonio that operate with their own city hall, their own, like, commerce, their own mayor, but yet they're still under the umbrella of San Antonio. And that's what Hong Kong is trying to operate as under China's communism umbrella. And democracy, America, that shit flies. We're okay with that. Like, Windcrest, you do you. Alamo Heights, you do you. China with Hong Kong doesn't fly as well. But it does seem like we're all kind of in the same boat, that the NBA initially botched it, but then they have come to the right stand. And as I said earlier to Alvin, I can't hold judgment. Like, we have to see how the next, it could be years, like how the future plays out, because the NBA has leverage in this situation.
Yeah, especially with Mumbai now.
The NBA has,
India's just as big a market as fucking China.
Yeah,
we have your replacement here.
Right. That's
facts.
And it's not just,
you could go to the Poco phones,
but it's Australia, it's Germany, it's Africa, it's South America. Like, think of some of the best players since 2000, and you're looking at guys who were born in Australia. You're looking at guys who were born in, I mean, Patty Mills was born in New Zealand. I can't say he's one of the best players of the last 20 years, but like, he has had a significant role on a championship team in the NBA. You look at,
didn't they just win the FIBA?
Australia?
Yeah.
No. Spain won FIBA.
Yeah, Ricky Rubio in Spain.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, Dirk Nowitzki, Germany. Like,
Australia just beat USA.
Andrei Karolinko from Russia. You have I mean, the history of guys from Africa. Joel Embiid's from Cameroon. Buddy Hield is from the Bahamas. The list of Canadians we have in the league: Argentina, Brazil, like Nene, Barbosa, Manu, Oberto, Scola. Like, the NBA isn't hurting on a worldwide front. And so I think they can take a much harder stand against China and see how China deals with it.
Yeah.
And what's funny just saying that, it just occurred to me. Imagine the NBA takes this extremely hard stand against communism in China. What does Trump do? Because Trump does not like the NBA.
But Trump also doesn't like China.
But I mean, from what I've seen, is that he looks like he wants you to fucking, like, make that move.
Yeah.
Make it. He's poking at Pop and Steve Kerr for not making a move.
Exactly.
Like, come on, like let's
Because he
But-
also
because-
put your nuts on
doesn't
the fucking table.
he also doesn't like China. Also,
but see that's the thing. It's like
I mean, he pulled Huawei.
if it's
well, that's fucking.
it's fun. Like
no,
I mean,
that's national security.
we're getting like this could really just screw the rest of our list of things we wanted to touch on tonight because to me the NBA just going balls to the wall and putting their nuts on the table and saying fuck you China, like we do what we want, we're going to we're going to stay woke, we're going to keep pushing this and like if you want to back out of all your deals, go ahead, we'll be fine without you. Guess what that does for Trump?
You're gonna see a Trump. It's something about they stick to what they fucking believe in.
But he gets to one, back the NBA, which also allows him to back out of a lot of agreements with China, which allows him to back out of like it almost gives all of the Trump merchandise that people buy is made in China. Like he gets a lot of money out of China. And I think part of I mentioned it earlier, like one of the reasons why people don't pull out of China is because it's such a fucking like economical stronghold.
They're like $1,600 a year.
and so it almost gives Trump his 2020 re-election campaign just by the NBA saying fuck you to China, because that would give him talking points and get the base and all of the just. And
so them making any kind of stance or them going against China, are you saying would give him talking points?
I think if they just completely, I would say they need to, if they like backed out of China's deal.
Because I feel like if we're gonna go into that politisphere, it's like a win-win for him.
Yeah.
It's 100% a win-win for him.
And guess who fucking hates it?
The NBA.
Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich. And I mean, to me, in some manner, the regard, because like I'm like Trump, the businessman, is not he's not a good businessman. He's a good promoter. He's fucking Don King. Like he was a Don King, terrible manager. If you had him in your corner, you went fucking crazy and you lost, but you looked good and you sold and made money and you were a great promoter. But as far as your actual job of what you were supposed to do, not so fucking good at it. And that's how like Trump has a checkered past with a lot of lawsuits, a lot of bankruptcies, a lot of issues. And his presidency hasn't been any different. A lot of not conspiracies, but a lot of lawsuits, a lot of shady shit and all of this stuff. And yet he can still come out with the NBA going against China and have a win-win situation that helps propel him to a re-election.
Yeah, like I see him already having like 2 speeches, he's got everything listed out. He's like, all right, cool, you're going to go this way, we're going this one. Like, you're not going to stand with them? The NBA's for communism. They're for silencing the people. We're against that. They go with it. It's just like, hey, you know what? Props to the NBA. They took their stance. They're for the people. They're for what America is about.
You know, what you just said made me realize something. Our president is fucking Skip Bayless.
What?
Yeah, he's always been a talking. He's a talking head. He's been a talking head since the 90s. He's on Howard Stern and WWE.
He is Skip Bayless. He's like, look, no matter what I go into tomorrow, I'm either gonna say this shit or I'm gonna say this shit. Here are my 2 things, and they're gonna fucking rile people up no matter what the fuck I say. Yeah. And like
that comes with The Office, though.
Not really. Like it comes with him. It doesn't come with The Office. I
think it's always come with The Office, but with the fact that there's so many outlets for anybody to have a voice, everyone has a microphone now.
You know who didn't tweet until his last year of office, I think? Obama.
Yeah, he's too busy fucking bombing civilians in fucking Syria.
Well, Turkey's doing that now,
That's not us.
and Trump was like, "Go for it!" Like he was pushing them to it.
He said that's not my list.
Except, yeah, because his list is in our fucking country.
Starts with Steve Kerr and Greg Popovich.
Hey, Colin Kaepernick.
I don't know why you threw Kaepernick in there. He got paid.
So did
He
Antonio
put
Brown.
Kaepernick on his list.
No, he didn't get paid.
No, he's not getting paid.
I was like, he's only made like
He thinks he's getting paid.
he thinks he is. I don't know,
He's filing grievance with the league.
Another one.
everyone's
that
fighting
was-
something with somebody.
That was our transition to get off of the NBA in China. Is
I want to hear LeBron. I want to hear it. He's more than an athlete. Prove it.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot.
Show us your nuts.
Here's last thing on it. Last point I want to make on it. When the dust settles and there's not this just complete like media firestorm that there is right now about it, where it's like you can't like you haven't been able to really gather your actual like thoughts, like, okay, here's how I act. Like, I mean, we have, because you know we're not focusing on an NBA season, and like we can just spout off whatever is on the top of our head. But as far as like members of just national relevance and prominence, like they have to actually like sit down, look into things, come up with an idea, like, and then really fully like be behind it. I can say something this week, and then next week, after I look at things, I can come back next week and be like, hey, I was wrong. And then I'm not going to get fucking blown off the face of the earth for what I said tonight. LeBron, if he makes one false move, like he's literally walking along landmines.
Oh, they'll chop his head off if he makes one false move.
And so, like, there's a reason why he hasn't had any, like, scandal or any, like, his one bad misstep is the decision. And he's been famous for 20 years now. Which is pretty impressive. So it's like, wait until the media, just windfall goes by, let it simmer, and then
When does his next episode come out?
For the shop?
Yeah.
no idea, because I don't watch it.
Yeah.
I was like, could his silence be because he's fucking recording it and he's gonna make his big announcement? Not like a big announcement, but he's gonna
It's gonna be with him and fucking Draymond Green and
Rich Paul.
yeah,
Clutch Sports.
Dallas Carter.
Yeah, the whole gang's like, well, what do you think? about
AD.
I do know his name is Maverick Carter, not Dallas Carter, but Dallas Carter is the high school that I believe Odessa Permian plays in Friday Night Lights in the state finals. Y'all remember the movie Friday Night Lights?
I remember the movie, but I don't remember
Dallas-
what team it
Dallas
was.
Carter, yeah.
It was?
They were in
Dallas.
red. They're bigger than us.
the
They're
blue and-
faster than us.
Yeah.
They stronger than us. They bigger than us.
the blue and red team.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. I mean, it is going to be fascinating. Like it truly is going to be fascinating, because I mean, we're already in a time of the country where our future as a country is really like on a teeter-totter. We're in this weird floating state where we can go anywhere. So let's wrap up the political stuff and get on to NFL and the No Fun League, which after that conversation is way more fun. We're not going to go over previews and reviews and fantasy and I mean, we're kind of going to talk fantasy, but that's kind of an underlying discussion of what we are going to discuss. The NFL MVP this year, after last week, is really shaping up to be incredible. I mean, Andrew, I think you really had it as a 3-person race. You didn't see a fourth in there. Do you even see it as a 3-person race?
I mean, I see it as a 2.5-person race.
Who's the half?
The half is composed of like 2 3/4 and like 3 even pieces make 2.5.
But
Okay.
who's your half
Geometry.
player? Let's just say who.
Geometry, nigga. We ain't talking shapes.
You're over there talking about pieces and making halves. Yes,
That's just regular, like,
Algebra.
that's algebra.
not even algebra, just arithmetic.
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 Man, I got 3 even pieces.
So,
And who are they?
I mean, I had 4, and we're going to discuss the 4 because I think my 4 encapsulated everybody who you had in it. Correct? When we talked about this, my 4. Did you have anybody else that was outside of my 4 as
Yes.
part of it? Who did you have?
Lamar.
Okay. I should have remembered that because you asked about him, or realized it. So let's talk Lamar before we get into like actual MVP candidate right now. After this last week and after the last few weeks, I think Lamar has taken too much of a step back statistically in the way he looks, that he is not, he's the tier below the 4 that we're going to discuss. I mean, 3 weeks from now, he very well could be right there again. But as of right now, to me, I'm between 4 people. And in the 4th is the person who's right above Lamar as far as let's see how it plays out. I think he's in the MVP conversation, but because of how he's played all year. But for him to win it, it's really going to be how, I mean, for any of these guys, it's going to be how the team pans going forward. And I just, as much as we've all talked up Lamar, and before the season, Alvin was on him more than any of us, just because he was, I think, literally like sitting on his nuts.
More like gobbling on him.
Hungry hippo.
Just motorboating them.
God damn.
But I do think that the first 2 games he just came out and looked phenomenal. In the last 3, I think 3, maybe he's only played 2. I don't know when his bye week was. But the last few games he's played, he's fallen back down to earth, and it's just, he's fallen down more than the 4 guys we're going to talk about. And that's why I can't have him in my like top of the list. But I do understand, like, he's in a conversation for MVP, but I think the conversation for MVP with him is he has to turn it around the rest of the season. But I mean, I think that's fair for Lamar. After the second week, he just hasn't looked the same.
I agree.
So the 4 guys I'm talking about, Alvin, before I get to the 4 guys, did you have anybody else that, like, did you have anybody that we're not going to discuss that you wanted to just highlight?
No, it was
Because
it was those 4 that we're going to talk about, and then Lamar was right there for me. Like,
it's Lamar, and then it's like the Dak Zeke combo. And then after that, you just have to, like, the rest of the season just has to be absolutely spectacular. We need like 5 straight games from Aaron Jones like that, and then he'll catapult right there. So the 4 we're talking about are Patrick Mahomes, who's looking to repeat his MVP, Deshaun Watson, who I already brought up, Russell Wilson, who's just been absolutely on fire all year, and Christian McCaffrey, white running back extraordinaire.
White running back, not a Jew.
Do we know that for a fact?
I like the little Hanukkah song thing. The O.J. Simpson, not a Jew. Yeah, McCaffrey's the son of Ed McCaffrey from the Broncos.
I know.
And that's what, like, people were talking about, like, him as a receiver, like how great of a receiver he is. I'm like, did we forget who he is? Did we forget, like, he's the son of a Super Bowl winning wide receiver? Like, he's not just some, like, Joe Schmo dad.
He was like literally the number 2 option in Denver.
Sorry, I had to take a sip of my ice.
Had a flavor of whiskey.
So right now, with those 4 guys, Andrew, who's leading your MVP race? You can say Lamar. I mean, if Lamar's still leading your MVP race, but
I said 3 even pieces. Maybe Russ.
You don't sound too confident in that.
Because there's 3 even pieces.
You do know that you can't have 3 even pieces equal 100%.
Yes, you can.
It's impossible.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't.
Yes.
0% chance that literally 0% possible.
But you can have 3 pieces equal 2.5.
No, you can't.
He's like, fuck, what is it?
I was like, all right, you take that, and all right, 25 is not divisible by 3. No, you can't. You can have 3 even pieces of 3/4.
There you go. That's what it is.
That's what he meant.
But so you have Russell Wilson leading right now. Yeah. If
yeah.
It's the gun to your head conversation. I feel it's like one of those the Scantron tests, and you're just like, you have to fill it out, and you're just like,
too many C's.
Yeah, you're looking at shit.
Did I really pick 5 C's in a row?
How the hell did I do A B C D C B A? I don't know how I can't do that. That's one of these has to be wrong.
I know this bitch is fucking with me.
And that's why we're horrible test takers.
Shit, never believed in me.
Alvin, who would be your leader? Who would you vote for right now?
Russ.
Right now, I would probably say it's still Patrick Mahomes.
I think that's just glitz and glamour.
That's respecting the MVP.
It's also respecting the stats, and I'm like looking at like where the teams are standing and like the stats that they're putting up, and like it gets into the, as I mentioned, getting into the weeds earlier. That's what this MVP discussion is like, we really get into the weeds, because are we saying who is the Chiefs offense doesn't work as potently without Patrick Mahomes? Like, I mean, it might work the same way with Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson doesn't have the arm talent that Patrick Mahomes does. he's as smart with the football, if not smarter with the football, and he can do some incredible things outside of the pocket, similar to Patrick Mahomes. But as far as arm talent goes, I think the only guy in the league who's on the same level arm talent wise is Aaron Rodgers. But Aaron Rodgers now doesn't have nearly the same mobility that Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes have. And then you have Deshaun Watson, who is kind of like he's a better runner than Mahomes and Wilson. And I think he's slightly behind them as far as a passer. But like his stats speak for themselves too. And then you have Christian McCaffrey, who is like, I would personally love seeing him win the MVP because I don't want the MVP to go to a quarterback again. So Alvin, I had you pull up their 4 pages on Pro Football Reference. Now, go to Patrick Mahomes because he's the incumbent. What is his yards, touchdowns, interception, completion percentage, and then QBR. You should have all 5 of those there.
Let's see.
And we'll do
only QBR that I'm missing. Hold on.
We'll do those 5 stats for all 3 of the quarterbacks.
All right.
Got it all?
Yep.
Yards.
So yards 1831.
Touchdowns?
11.
Interceptions?
0.
Completion percentage?
Completion 65.6.
And QBR?
82.9.
Okay. So 1,800 yards, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 65 percentage, and 83 QBR.
Yeah, 83, yeah.
Deshaun Watson. Well, let's go Russell Wilson because y'all two said Russell Wilson. Well, he's our consensus. He would be the MVP if we were the only 3 voting.
Completion percentage 73.
So better.
1409 yards.
Less.
12 touchdowns.
More.
No interceptions.
Same.
And QBR.
I think it's like 85 or something like that.
80.
80? Okay. Yeah. So his QBR is less. I didn't get into the rushing numbers, but for me, like, we shouldn't. Cam Newton's rushing numbers were different in his MVP year because he ran for like 10 touchdowns because he was their goal line back essentially. So like the yards that they run for, in the touchdowns they run for, I think is just kind of more of an off script thing. And these guys are definitely they're quarterbacks by trade. Like they're much better at being a quarterback than they are like looking to scramble. Similar with like Dak. Like Dak wants to be a quarterback throwing the ball and he doesn't want to run. Like he can run, he understands he can run and he will run options and whatever, bootlegs, but he would prefer to sit in the pocket and not get hit. So are you on Deshaun Watson now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So yards 1364.
Less than both of them.
Completion 69.2.
So in between.
Touchdown is 11, 1 interception, and 76.2 QBR.
So he is third out of the 3 as far as statistics go. And then does Seattle have 1 or 2 losses? I just blanked on that. They have the 1 loss.
Yeah.
So the Chiefs have the 1 loss. The Texans have 2.
Yep.
And then so yeah, like I honestly do believe it's between Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes right now. Alvin, can you close that all the way? So real quick, let's talk Christian McCaffrey. Because Christian McCaffrey is on pace to break all the records. I listened to the NFL Ringers Dynasty Football podcast, and they brought up Christian McCaffrey's fantasy points this year. In PPR, he's like 149.6, and in non-PPR, he's like 128 or 120.6. In comparison, LaDainian Tomlinson's year, where he broke all of the fantasy football records for a running back and had the like 27 touchdowns and just the most ridiculous fantasy year as a running back. Through week 5, Christian McCaffrey is like 30 points higher in PPR and non-PPR than LaDainian Tomlinson was. Like, that is insane when you think about how ridiculous LaDainian Tomlinson was that year. Like, go ahead and you have him pulled up?
Yeah.
So go ahead and read. We're going to have to do rushing and receiving with him.
Yeah, I got that.
So how many carries does he have?
105.
105. How many yards?
587.
So he's averaging over 5 yards a carry. Or just about it, 5 yards a carry.
5 to 6 yards a carry, yep.
How many touchdowns rushing?
6.
How many fumbles? Can you see fumbles there?
Does not give me fumbles.
Okay, don't worry about it. No, I was just,
0 fumbles.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's why I wanted to ask that. Receiving, how many receptions does he have? Receiving should be in between passing and rushing, I believe, on
31 receptions.
31 receptions. How many yards?
279.
How many touchdowns?
1.
So combined, how many scrimmage yards does he have through 5 weeks?
866.
And how many touchdowns?
7 in total.
So he has 150 yards on average a game. What's 800 divided by 5? Whatever. But like, that doesn't matter. I mean, it does, but like for this discussion, like what he is doing on a team that lost its starting quarterback and has won 3 straight games. If this continues, if he doesn't win the MVP, I will stop this podcast. I will. It's like what I said earlier. Like if Verlander and Garrett Cole got rocked back-to-back games after Kershaw gave up back-to-back home runs on back-to-back pitches, I was going to give up
back-to-back bullshit.
I give up on baseball. Like that is not how this works. That is not how baseball is supposed to work. Your best pitchers are supposed to be the best no matter what. Verlander getting rocked, Garrett Cole getting rocked, and Kershaw, all of his postseason woes wouldn't make sense. Just logically. Logically, does Kershaw struggling in the postseason make sense to a non-Dodger hater?
Makes perfect sense to me.
Sense.
I saw a great stat that, did you know Clayton Kershaw is now tied for giving up the most postseason home runs in MLB history?
I do know.
No.
You do know? You did know before I said that?
I didn't.
Yeah, because they blasted all that over last night.
Do you know who he's tied with?
No.
He's tied with Andy Pettitte. Andy Pettitte has faced 2 times as many batters in the postseason as Clayton Kershaw has.
That tells you a lot, right?
Let that
sink in.
Yeah.
Let that sink in, Dodger
Alvin's
people.
just soaking it.
Clayton Kershaw has one of the greatest ERAs of all time for a pitcher who has started for more than 10 years. His ERA in the postseason is 2 points higher. Like it doesn't make sense. And if Christian McCaffrey doesn't win the MVP, keeping up this pace offensively, in guiding their team to 11-5 after an 0-2 start, I would seriously question my life. Like it would make me lose faith in sports. I just wouldn't understand it. Before we try to get wrapped up on Fire Dyer and prophecies, I feel like I talked enough on the MVP thing. I do want to get y'all's takes on why y'all chose Russell Wilson, just because I feel like we kind of skimmed over how great he's been. Andrew, what is it about Russell Wilson that's making you give him the 3.34%? Or
because he's
doing it with less than what these other people are doing.
He's overachieving already. I think this
Can
season.
You not say that he's always overachieved though? So maybe his overachieving is him actually just achieving.
Maybe he's just that good.
Maybe he's just an overachiever.
A do-gooder? I mean, he is a do-gooder.
I mean, he's doing.
Yeah.
Him and his team are doing a lot better than anybody thought they would be doing.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Alvin's always been a writer for the Seahawks.
Yep. I think I had them as a wild card team or something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a chance they could fucking win their division still.
I dig it. I dig it.
It's that division is more interesting than I expected.
Oh,
it to
100%.
be.
Yep.
Definitely did not expect the Niners to be undefeated.
Nobody did.
Yeah.
I mean, I did take 3 quarterbacks in our fantasy league from that division. I thought they would be good offensively. I did not expect them to be this good defensively, and I didn't expect Goff to be as bad as he has been. But yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you with Russell Wilson. He's just been incredible, and I think that's an understatement.
Yeah.
Like, did y'all see his pass to Tyler Lockett?
Who hasn't seen
it? Everybody thought he was throwing it away.
Yeah. I mean, the catch was incredible, but like,
the placement.
So Brett Favre turned 50 today, and so Twitter was my Twitter feed was scattered with Brett Favre highlight videos. Like the shit that dude was doing in the late 1990s and the early 2000s is the shit that you see fucking Russell Wilson and Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson and like all of these guys do on a weekly basis. Like
that backyard play, but
where he's like scrambling, and then like, okay, that guy is completely covered, and he just is like, nah, he's not covered.
I'm good. We got it.
Yeah, and
dude,
he throws it in a perfect spot. Like
Tyler Lockett was like triple covered right there. There was like 2 people up top and then 1 at the bottom. He just in that zone.
Early Russell Wilson, I was a big like. He's only winning because of how great the team is around him,
and I hated that.
I mean, because he was only winning because of the team around him,
the defense.
But like, if you look at that, do y'all remember the Green Bay playoff game where they came back in the fourth quarter and then they got the onside kick and because James Jones fucked up or like whatever, or Richard Rodgers fucked up and
never to be seen again.
But the throw that he made to win the game to Doug Baldwin in the seam in double coverage, just perfectly placed. Just like he makes these throws
that comeback.
He makes these throws that you're just like, there's like few people in the NFL who would even try to make that throw, let alone be able to make that throw.
Man, he's been so clutch. Like all of those his fourth quarter comebacks, like
he has 1 fuck up in his career.
Yeah. And that's that interception.
And they should have ran the ball anyways.
We know.
But
We are familiar.
But I've always been a Russell Wilson supporter though. Even when people were saying like, "Oh, he's only winning because of the defense," I'm like, he's putting up numbers. Y'all don't see the numbers that he's putting up though.
his first 2 years, he was literally middle of the pack statistically
Yeah,
in all facets. He was literally an average quarterback, and they won a Super Bowl with him being. I wrote about it. I have an article that I wrote about it that I can show you where I listed his stats because the Super Bowl, I think it was the Super Bowl they lost to the Patriots when he did throw that interception.
yeah.
He was 15th in the league in passing yards and like 16th in the league in passing touchdowns. He was merely doing what he needed to do. He was Dak Prescott to them.
But winning.
Are the Cowboys not winning? I mean, they did lose 2 in a row, but
he actually won a Super Bowl by doing that, though. That's what I mean.
Well, the Cowboys' defense is not nearly as good as the Legion of Boom defense.
So when are you ever going to see a defense like that again?
You're kind of seeing it in New England.
Yeah,
well, New England is actually better than the Bears' 1880 or 1980 something defense.
85, the 85 defense. I mean, right now, yeah. They're putting up like they have the most fantasy points since like the 1921 like Buffalo All-Americans or some shit like that.
Yeah,
I heard that on I think the Russillo brought that up. Like just sounds it's the teams that they're getting lumped in with right now or sound fake. But the Patriots also have played 0 good teams.
exactly.
Outside of the Steelers in week 1 when we thought the Steelers were going to be good, and they're 1-4 now.
Yep.
With going to their 3rd string quarterback this week. So like the Bears defense is still like extremely talented and really good. The Patriots defense is really good, but like the Legion of Boom defense was good on every level. Like, not just good, they were great at every level. They had a pass rush, like they had KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, young Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright at linebacker. I can't think of the third guy that they had, but he was a stud too. Earl Thomas before all of his injury issues, Cam Chancellor before all of his injury issues, AJ Boye before he went over to Jacksonville, Justin Coleman as a rookie who's now with the Lions, Richard Sherman who pretty much just got ran out of there because but like that defense with Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill, Frank Clark, just complete dominance on all facets. They could stop the run, they could stop the pass, they could blitz, they could play man, they could play zone, whatever they wanted to do, they did, and it showed up. And all Russell Wilson needed to do was not turn the ball over and turn around and hand it to Marshawn Lynch. That's all that like really needed to be done. Because I mean, we didn't even talk about some of the weapons that he had. Like, you didn't realize how great Doug Baldwin was as a receiver until he became their featured receiver. Because I was a Doug Baldwin hater too. I'm like, who the fuck is Doug Baldwin? But like Golden Tate before he left, they made Percy Harvin look somewhat like capable of being an NFL player. I think those Seattle teams are going to get lost in the shuffle because of the interception that Russell Wilson threw. But I think because Russell Wilson is on a slightly slower Tom Brady trajectory. And what I mean by that is Russell Wilson, his first few years, all he had to do was not fuck up. And they were going to win 12 games. They were going to win their division. And they were possibly going to be playing in a Super Bowl because of how great the rest of the team was. But as time goes, you have to start adjusting. and Tom Brady adjusted. The Patriots adjusted. And when you get to the Tom Brady 07 year, which is his 7th year in the league, which I want to say, how many years is Russell Wilson at? Can you pull him up? It should show his career. His 7th year in the league, that's when Randy Moss gets there, and Tom Brady becomes this statistical wizard.
7.
That's what I thought. And you're looking at Russell Wilson having his most impactful offensive season. And there's no mistake that it's because he was able to like kind of find a footing in the NFL. Understand, like, here's what I can do, here's what my receivers can do, like this is what takes being an NFL quarterback, and he's always been a clutch player. Tom Brady, always been a clutch player. You can't count them out. Though they will always find a way to come back in a game, whether they're down 28-3 or whatever it was in the 4th quarter of the Green Bay game. It's eerily similar to me, their trajectory. Minus Tom Brady had 3 Super Bowls in his first 5 years. So I kind of hijacked the Russell Wilson thing there because I really just wanted to make the Tom Brady comparison. I think that was my consciousness or my subconscious saying, talk Tom Brady.
Do it.
Alvin, I know you were the one that said, and me and Andrew both know that you've been the Seahawk supporter. Make your Russell Wilson thing really quick if you have anything else you want to say about him, and then we can let's see where we're at. We're going to just do a little bit of Dodgers because that's really the only other thing that I wanted to talk about, and then we can do prophecies and get going because I know it's getting a little late in the pod.
I mean, the only thing that I just want to say is people want to say he was average his beginning of his career. I never saw that because I saw somebody that threw for over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns for 3 straight seasons, and then that's when he started getting his stride where he was hitting the 4,000 mark and getting close to those. And of course, then that was the year after they stopped running the ball and got more onto the throwing the ball more with him instead of just being straight pound a rock with Marshawn Lynch and all that stuff. And so as the Seahawks started to adapt to being more passing, Russell Wilson just started taking off, and that's why I've always been a supporter of him because I just feel like he's always been good, not average.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's gotten better over the years.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull something up. So while I pull this up, Alvin, you have the floor. Talk Dodgers.
Well.
Let it out.
We're here again, boys. It's October, and the Dodgers ain't done shit. They won 106 games this year, the most. That was the most in the MLB, right?
Yep.
There was a shoe-in for the World Series this year, right?
Yep.
Kershaw, the best pitcher ever, right? Well, not ever, but
damn, dog,
but
you get carried away.
But they hype him up as
of our generation.
Of our generation, right?
Yes.
Motherfucking trash.
God.
Dumpster fire. Come in the game for a reliever. Yeah, he had good stats as a reliever, but we all know what happens in the playoffs with Kershaw. Fucking choke artist. 2 straight back-to-back home runs in the 8th inning to tie up the game. You just see it, that picture where he's that's floating around the internet where he's on the bench and he's got his head down, he's all there by himself. Yeah, that's right, motherfucker.
God damn, dude.
That's fucking right. You fucking Dodgers. All I hear is y'all hyping them up and all that shit. Cause y'all was winning regular seasons. I'm just wait until the postseason though. Where did Bellinger go? He was like 4 for 19. Where was he at? Where was Seager at? He was gone too. Like, where was he at? And they want to blame it on Dave
sounds like
Roberts.
it's more than Kershaw.
It is more than Kershaw, because they want to blame it on Dave Roberts for making quote unquote bad moves, bad decisions.
He did make bad decisions. I'm the biggest Clayton Kershaw fan in this room. He shouldn't have gone to Kershaw.
But I'm not going out there saying like Dave Roberts needs to be fired. Like all these other people were like over. You know, they was running over Kershaw jerseys last night.
Yeah, I saw it. Did you see homeboy throw it back in the fucking field?
Yeah.
Like, boy, all that sucking on Kershaw's dick, and now you're all like, fuck that guy. I've been saying that he's been the Peyton Manning of the MLB for so long.
Except guess what? Peyton Manning has 2 rings.
He eventually got to 2 rings.
Well, yeah.
He eventually got to 1 ring.
Yeah.
But also statistically speaking,
and
Peyton Manning was always a better quarterback than all of his contemporaries.
Well, that's what they're saying about Kershaw.
But it's hard to say it about baseball players.
Casey,
because
this is my time.
But I do have to say, like, I think you're being a little obtuse.
Nah.
About Kershaw.
Nah. I'm spot on.
All right, so let me ask,
Your time is up.
Shut up and listen. I'll you can have the floor right after this. 'Cause I have 2 things to say though.
Okay.
First, Russell Wilson threw for the 3,100 yards and 26 touchdowns. You said you saw him 3 straight seasons, over 3,000.
Yeah.
In that first season that he threw, his rookie season, he threw for 3,100 yards, 26 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions.
Yeah.
3,100 yards was 23rd in the league in passing. 23rd. That's, way down there. He was, let me find him. He was 12th in the league in touchdowns. So much better touchdowns than he was yards. And then with interceptions, he was, that did not. He threw 10, which put him at the 25th most. So he was still he wasn't as bad of an interception thrower.
Mm-hmm.
And he was 3rd in the league in QBR. So I would say his real his thing was he didn't fuck up.
Yeah.
Like that. It's not like he blew you away statistically. He didn't. And that was his rookie season. And then his second season
threw for 33-57.
Right, which was 16th in the league.
26 touchdowns again.
Was 10th in the league.
9 interceptions.
It's hard to, which is down there because you have Eli throwing 27. And then he was 7th in the league in QBR. But it's like, that's why it's hard to say, like, he threw for 3,000 yards in 2012. Yeah, guess who out fucking threw him yardage wise? RG3.
Okay, when RG3 had that big ass rookie season.
I know, but I'm just saying, like it's hard to be like, well, he did all of this. Like, yeah, I mean, he did, but I mean, those numbers are still not even comparable to some of the other guys from that season. But the second thing I was gonna say, who is your pick? Let's say a pitcher who made his debut after 2006. I don't know if you're. I can't say I have the wealth of knowledge of who made their, but I just want to say, relatively younger pitcher, like started from 2006 on. Who is this generation? Who's the greatest pitcher of this generation?
Of this generation? From 2006?
They had to have made their debut after 2006.
Oh.
When was Scherzer? When did Scherzer start?
He definitely was after 2006, I think.
Yeah, he was. Are you going to say Scherzer? Because I'll start throwing out statistics there that.
Man,
I mean,
goddamn.
He didn't
Scherzer
start off
started-
good. He didn't start off good, but then he developed into being a dominant pitcher.
So
I mean-
Scherzer's first year was 08. Kershaw's first year was 08.
What about King Felix? Because
So-
for a while
so
it was
I
between
will
Kershaw and Felix.
make one more. Verlander had 2 starts in 05, so I'm going to count him as well.
Then I'll go Verlander.
Yeah.
So Verlander is probably, I would, if I was just going off of like my memory of the guys starting from 2006, I see it Kershaw, Verlander, Felix Hernandez. And the only like the issue with Felix Hernandez is he had a year where he had a great ERA and then it ballooned, and he was always big with strikeouts, but he wasn't.
His wins and losses.
His wins and losses are off. Like how many years did the Mariners make the playoff with him as their ace?
I think it was
Like,
just once.
It's really hard to like watch these guys play for these teams and be like, that guy's really good. Like Jacob deGrom might be the best pitcher in the major leagues, but guess what? He had a 500 record or something like that last year, but he had the best ERA. He had the second most strikeout. He almost won the pitching triple crown if he had the wins, and he won the Cy Young, which was, I thought he deserved it, but like it gets into such a weird thing about pitching. It gets like, how do you value a pitcher more than another when, if you look at wins, if you look at ERA, if you look at strikeouts, Kershaw's on top of maybe all of them except Verlander right now. And Verlander had 2 full seasons. I have Verlander's stats up right now. So in 15 years, Verlander has 225 wins, 129 losses, and a 636 win-loss percentage, a 3.3 ERA, and he has 3,006 strikeouts. Clayton Kershaw, in 2 less seasons, because I'm not including the 2 games from Verlander. He's 169-74 for a 695 win percentage, 2.44 ERA, almost a full point less, and he has 2,464. So he's 600 behind in strikeouts, but he's better win percentage, ERA, and this is all regular season stuff.
Yes, and then in the playoffs, what do you do for me in the playoffs? Can I count on you in the playoffs? Kershaw, the answer is fucking no.
So
Your shit balloons.
one last question. Andy Pettitte or Greg Maddux?
Greg Maddux.
But his postseason numbers aren't nearly the same as Andy Pettitte's.
He hasn't been as to many postseasons as Andy Pettitte also.
Do you not remember the mid-90s Braves?
Yeah,
They won the division 12 straight years. Guess who was their ace? Greg Maddux.
Yeah. Didn't they win the championship with them?
1 year. But that was also with John Smoltz and Tom Glavine, with Andrew Jones, with Chipper Jones, with, I think, Fred McGriff might have been on that team.
And then you could say the same stuff about the Yankees.
And it was also the strike season, too.
You could say the same thing about the Yankees also, with their talented roster all the time.
Right. I mean, that's just because, like, I just can't. I can't base how great Kershaw is as a pitcher off of the fact that for whatever reason he has 2 innings in the postseason series where he gives up 6 runs. It's just like, to me, that's just a ridiculous way of basing your like ideas on a pitcher. Like it's like he's great through 5 innings, and then they let him in the 6th, and he gives up a bunch of runs.
Yeah. His ERA goes up to like 7 something after the 5th inning.
Yeah. Well, guess what? The manager should take him fucking out.
I'm not the manager.
Right. But you were trying to defend Dave Roberts. If you know your pitcher is not good in a situation, why are you putting him in that situation?
I said Dave Roberts has made bad decisions, but I'm not like these overreacting Dodgers fans that's like, fire him.
I mean, his decisions in this last game, plus the decisions he made in last year's World Series, not the greatest. So I just really quickly pulled up Greg Maddux, who to me is the greatest pitcher of my lifetime. I think Kershaw's the greatest pitcher of this generation because he started in 08, where Greg Maddux retired in 08. So Greg Maddux kind of passed the torch to Kershaw. Greg Maddux is 11-14 win-loss in the playoffs with a 3.27 ERA. He did have 1 save, but even to me, the guy who was the greatest pitcher from 1989 to 2008 as a whole, even he has a losing record in the playoffs. Like, you can be a great pitcher and have terrible luck in the playoffs. It can happen. But I know it's one of the things that it's like me being with it's my conversation with Tom Brady. Like, Tom Brady's not the greatest pitcher or quarterback of all time to me. But I don't care about the rings. I don't care that you have better postseason stats. That doesn't matter because that just means you had a better team. Kershaw's struggles in the postseason doesn't mean he's a bad pitcher. Doesn't mean he's still not the greatest of this generation. It means he has bad luck in the postseason.
Bad luck, or you just not reliable, man? Bad luck, or you just not the man when it comes to the postseason?
That's true too. Like, that Peyton Manning wasn't nearly as like prolific in the playoffs. He just wasn't.
Exactly. That's why I make them to the comparison.
Because you're facing off against the greatest head coach of all time and one of the best defenses, and you're facing off against better players, better defenses, and to me, with the Kershaw thing, a lot of his runs came after the 5th inning. You get him through 5, you pull him, and you move on. And he has to suck it up.
I got it roll.
Yeah, so we're wrapping up. Say toodaloo.
See ya.
Yes, see ya.
Yeah, we went way too long on everything tonight.
I gotta roll. I'll see y'all.
Yeah, and so it's getting late, and we'll catch y'all next week. I am Casey Coggins. Andrew Lara has now left the building and still here with Alvin Hebert.
Outros.